Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mente Aprende. I'm Jorge Franco, and I'm delighted to have you with us once again in this space where we explore, understand, and cultivate our inner world. Today, we embark on a fascinating challenge, attempting to summarize the thought of one of the most ambitious and, for many, most important philosophers and psychologists of our time, Ken Wilber. Have you ever felt like the pieces just don't fit? That what science tells you seems to contradict what you feel in your spirituality, or that your psychology, your body, and your mind are all going down separate paths. We live in a hyper specialized, fragmented world where each discipline seems to hold only one piece of the puzzle. Well, Ken Wilber dedicated his life to trying to build a map that integrates everything, a model he calls integral psychology or the theory of everything. The goal of this episode isn't to become Wilber experts, but to understand his central proposal, that map of consciousness. We'll see how this map can help us understand ourselves better, heal our own fragmentation, and continue that journey of polishing our rough stone. To understand Wilber, the first thing we must visualize is a ladder, or as he called it in his first great book, a spectrum. Think of the light spectrum. It goes from infrared to ultraviolet. And although red and violet seem different, they are part of the same continuum. Wilber says our consciousness is the same. It's not an on or off switch, but a gradual development through various levels. He didn't invent these levels. What he did was synthesize the maps of Western psychology, like those of Freud, Piaget, or Maslow, with the maps of Eastern contemplative traditions, like Buddhism or Vedanta. Very simply, we can group these levels into three broad stages. First, the pre-personal stage. This is the stage of early childhood. The baby doesn't distinguish between itself and the world. Everything is a fusion. It is egocentric by nature. It is the purely instinctive I. Second, the personnel stage. This is where most of us spend our adult lives. It's where we develop a healthy ego, a separate identity. We develop logic, reason, the ability to reflect on ourselves. Traditional psychology often focuses here, on healing a wounded ego, on strengthening our identity. And third, the transpersonal or transrational stage. This is where Wilber gets really interesting. He says that once you have a healthy, functional ego, the journey doesn't end. The next step is to transcend that ego. It's about moving beyond the separate identity to experience deeper levels of connection, unity, and spirituality. There is a crucial point here that Wilber calls the pre-trans fallacy. We often confuse the pre-personal, childish magical, with the transpersonal, mystical unitive, because both seem non-rational, but they are very different. One is pre-ego and the other is post-ego. Being an egocentric child is not the same as being an enlightened mystic. Understanding this spectrum is fundamental. It tells us that spiritual growth is not about denying our mind or our identity, but about building it healthily so we can then move beyond it. All right, so we have the levels of consciousness, that vertical ladder. But if we only stick with that, we're missing half the story. This is where Wilber introduces his most powerful tool, the heart of his integral map. He calls it the AQAL model, which stands for all quadrants, all levels. Let's not get complicated by the acronym. The central idea is brilliant and simple. Any event, any experience, anything in the universe can and must be viewed from four fundamental perspectives. Imagine a window divided into 4 panes. To see the complete landscape, you need to look through all 4. What are these 4 quadrants? First, the upper left quadrant, the I. This is the internal, individual, subjective world. It's my thoughts, my emotions, my fears, my spiritual experiences, my memories. It's everything I feel from the inside. Psychology, psychoanalysis, and meditation work primarily here. Second, the upper right quadrant, the id. This is the external, individual, objective world. It's my body, my brain, my neurotransmitters, my biology. It's everything a scientist can measure, weigh, and observe in me as an organism. Neuroscience and biological medicine, like psychiatry, focus heavily here. Third, the lower left quadrant, the we. This is the internal but collective world. This is culture. It's shared values, language, morals, family beliefs, the worldview I share with my community. It is the intersubjective. Anthropology and sociology study this. Fourth, the lower right quadrant, the its. This is the external collective world. These are the systems: the economy, the political system, technology, the ecology, infrastructure, the laws. It's the objective social structure we live in. Wilber's genius is telling us these four quadrants are real and they all evolve together. You cannot understand a problem like anxiety, the I quadrant, without looking at your brain chemistry, the it quadrant, but also without looking at the culture of immediacy and productivity you live in, the we quadrant, and the economic system or the design of your cities, the its quadrant. The integral model is a vaccine against reductionism. It prevents us from believing that only biology, or only psychology, or only sociology has the answer. The truth, Wilber says, lies in the integration of all of them. Having an integral map is wonderful, but it doesn't exempt us from the work. Ken Wilber differentiates three types of growth that we often confuse. The first is grow up. This is exactly what we talked about in the second segment. It's moving vertically up the spectrum of consciousness. It is maturing, moving from an egocentric view to an ethnocentric view, centered on my group, and then to a world-centric view, centered on the world. It is a development in complexity and empathy. The second is clean up. This is shadow work. It's the horizontal work. Cleaning up means confronting and healing our wounds, our traumas, our repressions, everything that psychoanalysis would call the shadow. And here is the key. You can grow up without cleaning up. This is a crucial point. We can find people who are intellectually brilliant or who even have profound spiritual experiences. They have grown up a lot in certain aspects, but who have enormous, unresolved shadows. These are people who, for example, talk about universal love but treat their family poorly, or gurus who have mystical experiences but abuse their power. Wilber warns us that development is not even. The integral map shows us that we must attend to all quadrants. Growing up is important, but cleaning up our shadow, healing the I upper left quadrant, is absolutely essential. This is the heart of therapeutic work. Finally, Wilber adds, wake up. This refers to direct mystical experiences. It is the contemplative practice, meditation, that allows us to have glimpses of those transpersonal states of unity, regardless of what growth level we are at. The ideal integral path, Wilber tells us, is to grow up, clean up, and wake up, all at the same time. And so, in this very brief journey, we have traced the edges of the vast continent. That is Ken Wilber's thought. So what are our key takeaways? First, the idea of the spectrum of consciousness. We are not static beings. We are in a process of development that goes from the pre-personal to the personal, and potentially to the transpersonal. Second, the integral map and its four quadrants. Reality is complex. To understand any problem, especially mental health issues, we need to look at the I, the it, the we, and the its. We need to integrate our mind, our brain, our culture, and our systems. We must stop looking for a single cause for everything. And third, that triple task, the invitation to grow up in maturity, clean up our shadow, and wake up our spiritual connection. Ken Wilber's work is in essence an antidote to fragmentation. It is a call for integration. It offers us a map, perhaps the most complete one we have, for that central task of Mente Aprende, the journey of polishing a rough stone, of dissolving the rigid aspects of our ego, and understanding ourselves more completely. It is a map, but let's remember, the map is not the territory. The work of traveling it is ours. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Mente Aprende. I would love to know what you're taking away from this journey. What was the Ken Wilber idea that resonated most with you? The spectrum, the 4 quadrants, or cleaning up the shadow? If you're watching or listening on YouTube, please leave your thoughts in the comments. I read and deeply value every one of your perspectives. And if this content brings you value, I invite you to subscribe to Mente Aprende on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or your preferred platform, so you don't miss our next meeting. I'm Jorge Franco. Take care of your mind, integrate your parts, and until next time.